But let's recap, because in the end, the Shock, City, and Paris Saint-Germain both make it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm going to name check the teams that qualify. Some of them we'll talk about later, but some of them won't. Liverpool lost, but they're still going through. Barcelona through. Arsenal through. Inter, Atletico Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, Lille, and Aston Villa.
That's the top 8, yeah.
This is the top 8. So they're going to go through. They're going straight through. They skip the playoffs. Just in general, and we're used to it. We're NFL fans. In the NFL, you play everybody in your division twice, and then the schedule's different. You play different teams, right? How many of these 8 do you think are among the 8 best teams in Europe right now?
I mean, you can make a case certainly for Liverpool, Barcelona, Arsenal, Inter Milan, and even Atletico Madrid, who've been on this incredible 15 wins in a row, second in La Liga. So those teams are either top, third for Barcelona, second, Bayer Leverkusen, second. I guess only Lille for me is the big surprise of this top 8, because nobody saw them. They had a tough schedule. They had to play Juventus and Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, top teams, home, away. For Villa, you can even make a case that they are still a very good team in the Premier League. But Lille and Villa are certainly a bit of the two outsiders, especially more Lille even.
Or to turn it around, which teams are not among these 8 that you think are actually definitely among the top 8 teams in Europe? Let me help you out. Real Madrid, Manchester, Bayern, Manchester City,
and PSG. Yeah, maybe. But then
who do you take out from here?
Exactly. Not all the teams would have made it to top 8 anyway.
And that's one of the things I like about this, is that I think it's been a reality check for some big clubs that maybe only qualified at the end, who find themselves in the playoffs, didn't control their destiny.
Yeah.
I think it's been really good from a fan perspective, especially the smaller teams, because you have 2 winnable games, you've got 2 games against juggernauts, and you have this kind of evolution over time. I think maybe I'm more predisposed to it because I think we've seen some tremendous games, some tremendous comebacks throughout this group stage, some tremendous goals.
Yeah.
I maybe just feels fresh to me, but I think we're on the same page.
I love this. I mean, I had enough of those group stages where by match day 4, everybody was sorted. You knew who was going to be top and second and third in the Europa League and the one that would be knocked out. Yesterday, there was so much at stake for a lot of teams. And maybe because there were so many teams involved, it was hard to know, okay, my team is going to win and finish in that place because there was so many teams and it was still so tight. I just loved it. I love to have the 18 games all at the same time. I loved all the goals, 64, I think, in those 18 games on Wednesday night, which I thought was amazing. It was great. And in the end, we will have great ties in the playoffs, great games in the last 16. All of that, I think, thanks to this new format.
I think down the road where you might run into a problem with the format is that they make a big deal out of the seedings and there's going to be the draw on Friday.
Yeah.
But the problem with the seedings is like in real life, because there's a team that does badly and goes beneath you, you might think, oh, look, I finished 9th. Brilliant. Uh-oh, here comes Manchester City.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's why I would change it. I would to keep people motivated, right? To keep the incentive to make it mean something. I've talked about this before, and I'm the only person who likes this. Me and Theo Theodoridis, who's the Secretary General of UEFA. But he doesn't run the shop, unfortunately. Sorry, Alex. I don't mean that. Maybe one day he will. But what if you gave the top seed the chance to pick their opponent in the next round? And then the second seed picks their opponent and so on. If you do it that way, not only is there wonderful narrative, bulletin board material, because you're like, oh, Real Madrid think they can beat us. Well, we'll show them, blah, blah, blah. But it actually becomes meaningful because somebody could finish high and get screwed now by playing City or Paris Saint-Germain or Real Madrid or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Which creates a disincentive. And I think you want to maintain that incentive that where you finish is really, really important in years going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I like the seeding because really big teams, had they all
Yeah.
done better, they would not have faced each other like a Bayern can face City or Real Madrid can face City.
Yeah, but the problem is you're hurting the small team that did well.
True.
That's the flip
But
side.
then that's the part
But-
of that, this kind of league phase.
That is the issue with it. We're going to break this down a little bit further, share our thoughts on this on the Gab and Juls podcast. Maybe we can look a little bit at the business side of it. All right, Jules, sticking to your point about groups being foregone conclusions under the old system. And look,
Yeah.
we lived with it for many years. It's not like it was all bad.
No,
But-
not all the groups were always done after 4 games.
But for me, one of the big negatives about the old system is if you're a top seed, maybe like a big club that's going through a rough season, in your group you've got a 4th seed who are terrible.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Even if you're bad, you beat up on the 4th seed home and away. And then against the 3rd seed, let's say you beat them at home, you lose away.
Yeah, that's 9 points.
That's
already.
9 points. All you need is a draw in the last 2 games. 9
Yeah,
points
yeah,
generally
9
sees you
points.
through
Yeah.
anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why we saw this procession. I mean, I think last year, over the last couple of years, somebody worked it out, but it was something like it was always 14 or 15 of the teams with the highest wage bills advanced
Yeah.
every year. And many times, there was a battle for the 1st or 2nd. But what I like about this format is I think that goes away. There is much more uncertainty.
Mhm.
And I think teams still have to wrap their head around what the seeding actually means. What we do know about the seeding, and you pointed this out, is they've eliminated, and they said draws on Friday. They've eliminated country protection, which
Yeah.
means you can play a team from your same country.
Yeah.
That has an instant impact on the French clubs.
Yeah, for example, because it turns out that we will have, for sure, we know already even before the draw on Friday that there will be, PSG will face another French team, whether it will be Brest or Monaco, one of the two, is all certain. And in a way, and the Brest players after the defeat against Real Madrid were saying, like, it's amazing that we've qualified for the playoff. We're so excited because it's against all odds. But please, we don't want to play PSG again because we play them enough. We play them in the league all the time. They play them on Saturday in the league. This Saturday coming, this weekend coming. And like they don't want to play them again in 10 days' time or 2 weeks' time when the first leg playoff is. And it will be the same for Monaco, who also played PSG in the French Super Cup. So that's the thing. But you could have PSV against Feyenoord. 2 Italian clubs could also face each other in the playoffs. So it's not just between 2 French teams. And I just think it would be a little bit of a shame because those teams are so used to play against each other in the leagues.
So I think it was under consideration to keep it. But I think the real reason, or there's 2 reasons. The official reasons about why they didn't keep it is that it really messes up the seedings if you do that, right? Then the seedings become almost not totally irrelevant.
More difficult, sure.
But you could have a team finishing higher seed. Wait, why do we get screwed over? Because we happen to be from wherever, right? I think the other aspect is you don't want to get into a situation or clubs outside the Premier League and La Liga who are going to have more clubs or have historically in recent years had more clubs advancing in the competition. Clubs outside it know that they end up facing, if you have country protection, they'll know that they'll end up facing one of those teams.
Yeah.
And that's probably not really fair. It's probably not the greatest thing commercially. Sucks for Brest.
Yeah,
Sucks
they can
for
still
Monaco
play
and
Benfica. They can play Benfica for Brest, and then PSG Monaco would be the other one.
Yeah, but then I feel so bad for that nice Adolf Hutter and the 22 Monaco fans at the Stade Louis II.
It would still be a great game, But shout out to the French club, by the way. 4 in the Champions League, 4 will be in the next round or the one after. And the only country with England to have qualified everybody, whether for the playoff or straight for the last 16, because Italy have lost 1, Spain have lost 1, Germany have lost 1. So well done to
Germany have lost 2, no?
Yeah, more
Stuttgart
than 1, but
as
at least
well.
1. I mean,
Right.
Stuttgart and Leipzig for them. But only the French and the English have made like a full house.
Is there, people always draw broad conclusions about the strengths of leagues and stuff, which I always think is kind of really stupid. But the fact that of the big 5 leagues, they came in with 22 and they go out with 18. Does that seem right? Is there any kind of
It
significance
just shows
to that?
for all the people who said this is a Super League, there's no Joe Party there, there's nothing, the big clubs are going to prevail all the time, blah blah blah. We saw with City making it just about. We saw with Bayern being mid-table, which then probably will mean playing a big tie in the last 16 or in the playoffs or in the last 16. Same with Real Madrid. It hasn't been easy for them, and I think this is great. And like we saw with Leipzig, Leipzig are a bit up and down in their own league as well. Very capable on some days and just anonymous on others, but still they've struggled in there. And for Dinamo Zagreb, who's done well at time, we've got a good young generation coming through. The very handsome Fabio Cannavaro, as we were talking about off air, Gabi, as a coach. Good. This is a great story. Lille is a wonderful story for Lille to finish top 8. You know,
I think so, and this is part of the thing that some people really ignore on this front. And when you said, "Oh, it's like the Super League," okay, so let's remind ourselves.
Yeah,
there were 12 Super League teams, and then in the framers of the Super League's mind, those 12 they didn't actually sign up, but the others would have been Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund, and Bayern. And so when I look at this, I'm just reading down the top of the table: Liverpool Super League, Barcelona Super League, Arsenal Super League, Inter Super League, Atletico Super League. But then Bayer Leverkusen, not Super League.
Nope.
Lille, not Super
Nope.
League. Aston Villa, not Super League.
Nope.
Atalanta, not Super League. Dortmund Super League, Real Madrid Super League, Bayern Super League, Milan Super League, PSV Eindhoven, not Super League, and Paris Saint-Germain Super League. So, again, by the way, Nasser, before you get angry at me, I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not saying you're in the Super League, but you were considered worthy of invitation to the Super League. I think this is what you kind of want, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think it will get better next season because we'll be more used to the format. I think clubs will maybe approach it in a slightly different way. And I think this format is going to get better and better.
There's a lot to learn. One thing that, obviously, before UEFA hired a bunch of nerds to do a bunch of simulations and how many points will see you through and blah, blah, blah. And it's interesting because a lot of them got it. They got a lot of things very, very wrong.
Yeah.
I think they were surprised that the cutoff for the top 8 would be 16 points.
Yeah.
And the other thing, though, is how tight it was. In their projections, Dinamo Zagreb, who you mentioned, they go out with 11 points. Same number of points as Manchester City, by the way. And they're out. It was less than a 1% chance in their modeling that would actually happen. So what that tells me is that, yes, we have teams that left on nul point. We'll get to them later. But it's actually been tighter. A lot of the games have been a lot tighter and more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people, and I want to chuck this out to you because some people, like our colleague Mark Ogden, who I'm picking on because he's not here, he made the point in our Champions League talking points that, well, some teams like Bayern, Real Madrid, City thought they could just coast through. The implication being that they weren't taking it seriously at the beginning, and that's why they finished mid-table. Do you think that's...
No, I don't believe in that at all. I just think that at times you played in a very competitive environment where sometimes you play back-to-back and there's a lot of games between the league and there's obviously 2 extra games in this phase than in this format than the old format. There are times where you might not be at your best, not your strongest 11, some players injured, maybe some players, again, not physically at their best, and you play against a team like City and Feyenoord, for example, where you're 3-0 up and cruising, and then a good team like Feyenoord that can score at any time. They can also concede, as we saw against Lille on Wednesday night, can come back just in the blink of an eye, and then it's 3-3, and you City, and you think like, wow, okay. And I think this is the beauty of this as well, is that you play, as you said before, top teams that you expect to win, but who still make it competitive. Okay, there's some who have been dreadful through and through, but they will always be like that. There was like that in the old format as well. Some pointless, useless team, hopeless team. So
Southampton are dreadful. Why don't we change the
exactly.
format of the Premier?
Well, but Sebastian Hoeneß was really not cross, but after the defeat against PSG and Stuttgart went out with 10 points, I think it was. Just said, oh yeah, before the tournament, they said that 99% with 10 points, 99% you were through. And clearly AI got it wrong because, we got 10 and we up. So even that was great.
It's modeling. You have to go. That's a great line from Sebastian Hoeneß, by the way. the other people who say, well, it's a slog, which I don't understand, like what, because there's a lot of games. The argument being the 2 extra games, oh, it's all about money, which, again, it's a tournament. You're playing more football. It's not like you're going out and, drilling for more oil or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see the argument. The money does get redistributed. It gets redistributed to the clubs. And also elsewhere in football to associations and so on. There's a debate to be had, I think, about player welfare and whatnot. But the debate has to be guided by science and data and numbers, not just,
how many games?
Yeah, Rodri did his ACL because there's 2 more games in the Champions League. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
You need to come up with something better than that. Interesting thing on the prize money, which I will leave you with. One of the things the clubs negotiated is they redid the way the money's allocated. And so Manchester City, of course, finished 22nd out of 36.
Yeah.
In terms of how much money they're going to get the 10th most. And that has to do that they take into account recent history and they take into account the size of the country's television deal. So obviously, the television deal here, for some reason, they do the UK and Ireland together, which again, those weird legacies of colonialism I don't fully understand, but whatever. And it is the biggest deal in Europe, so they get more money.
Yeah.
Does that sit well with you, or would you just do it entirely based on merit?
I don't know.
The clubs would never go for it if you did.
Yeah, exactly. If you wanted a fair split where everybody, depending on, regardless of where they're from and would get the same, that's not happening. I know that for Lille, for example, not going straight into the last 16 is massive for them. I think all in all, it would bring them at least 70 million euros, which is incredible for a club like them. You would expect for Aston Villa to be really welcoming of an amount that would be superior to Lille for all the reasons that you just explained too. I've got no problem by rewarding brilliance. And if you finish in the top 8, then you deserve a big chunk. For City to be 22nd and still getting the 10th highest prize money is maybe a little bit pushy, but
the argument is we spend more money on players and wages, and therefore we need to get more money back. I think we generate more interest, more excitement. But you're right, and I'll just leave you with this thought: Liverpool and Barcelona, who finished first and second, they have already made more money from the group stage this season than Real Madrid made last year when they won it.
Exactly.
All right, enough of that. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, guys.
Manchester City get a real scare, but come from behind to beat Bruges 3-1. Jules, this could have gone the other way.
Yeah, Bruges were very good. They were leading at halftime, of course, thanks to the Onyedika goal. And City looked tense. It felt tense at the Etihad. Pep made a change at halftime. Gundogan off and Savinho on. And to be fair, that changed the dynamic as well as the Kovacic early goal in that second half that settled the nerves. After that, you knew City were going to win. Bruges still qualify. So for them, yeah, of course, a draw or win would have been even better.
It got a little bit Gijon there at the end, if you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
By the way, in Pep Guardiola, there's more scratches on his head.
Yeah,
I don't think
he
coincidence.
got really, really stressed out. Atalanta hold Barcelona to 2-2 draw in Barcelona as well. Gab, did the clash between the two clubs with the best goal difference in the competition live up to expectations? At least your expectations?
I thought it was open. I thought we got to see 4 goals. So some great goals.
Yeah.
Not the Araujo goal, of course, because he was left entirely unmarked. But how about my man Ederson, the quick feet? Best Ederson in the Champions League, no question about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Alejandro Balde, before the game, they asked him, by the way.
That was bad. That's such a bad look for him and for Barcelona.
It's really bad, especially for both, actually.
Yeah, for both.
They asked him about Atalanta and Gasperini. He's like, I have no idea who that is.
Who's this player? He said like...
Yeah. So first of all, if you're in that situation, these players should be trained. Like, just whisper to the guy, oh, it's a coach of the team. Like, oh, yes, I don't know much about him, but good team, blah, blah, blah. You should know. You should know they won the Europa League last year, whatever. But this is on Barcelona's communications people.
Completely.
Whoever it is, and please be in touch. We love talking to you. You need to prepare the guy. That's really, really embarrassing, really more for them than for Balde. So I'm glad Atalanta got the point they needed. They narrowly miss out on the top 8. Yeah. But
Aston Villa players were waiting the end of the Atalanta game.
Exactly.
It's another goal from Atalanta, and they would have been in the top 8, and Villa not in the top 8.
So that was and Barcelona would have dropped down to 4th or 5th.
Yeah, something
behind
like that.
Arsenal
Yeah.
even. Morgan Rogers bags a hat trick as Aston Villa beat Celtic 4-2 to finish top 8. But Jules, what's up with the other strikers? John Duran is undergoing a medical with El Nasser ahead of a 75 million euro move, and there's reportedly a 60 million pound bid from Arsenal for Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, I mean, for Duran, I mean, obviously not both of them will go in this transfer.
Is it
window.
obvious that not both of them will go?
Yeah, I
that
think
is a
so.
lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but it's also very difficult then to replace. One of them would be hard, two of them even harder, I think. I don't think from an Aston Villa point of view, you can refuse that bid from Al Nassr at 75 million euros, considering you bought him for 18 months ago or something, or 2 years ago now. It's just an incredible profit made by Villa. And yeah, he's the most younger one of the two because he's 21 when Watkins is 29. But
I'm surprised. So if you had the Watkins situation, and we'll get to that in the next quick hit, but if I'm Duran's agent, I go to them and I say, wait a minute, why don't we do a new contract here, sell Watkins, and I'll stay.
Maybe Duran wants to go to Al Nassr. Maybe the money is too good to turn down too. And certainly for Villa,
But dude,
the
he's
money
22 years old. Seriously, what are you doing?
But for Villa, the money is too much to turn down. And
I know, but he has
after
a
the
say
game
in
said
it.
like, if he's going, it's because the money is good for us. So of course we're going to say yes.
It seems, I think that speaks volumes about where Villa are PSR wise and and what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then sticking with Arsenal and Ollie Watkins, Arsenal beat Girona 2-1 and made that bid for Ollie Watkins. I think it's less than 60 million. But do you think that's good use of Stan Kroenke's money for Watkins?
No, I think it's terrible use. If it's 60 million, I mean, Ornstein reported 60 million.
Yeah,
obviously, there's a number at which it makes sense. Look, and I'm not just saying this because I think Kai Havertz is the best on earth, but the man is Watkins is 29 years old.
Yeah.
In this market with downward deflationary pressure, to go and spend this money, it means that you will probably need to replace Ollie Watkins in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And maybe 3 years, right? Like, good player. I think had a really rough start to the season this year. But
Havertz has scored more goals than him this season.
Now, which is kind of ironic. I mean, I'm assuming the thinking is, this way I can play Havertz in midfield.
Yeah,
but then you still have an
different
issue.
options.
Yeah, but then you have Zubimendi coming in. Where do you put Rice?
Well, Zubimendi is the holding. Yeah,
Right.
but Rice will play left. Yeah,
So then you have Odegaard, Havertz, Rice, Zubimendi.
But
Well,
Zubimendi will be more like.
No, but what I'm saying is you've got 4 guys at 2
yeah,
positions,
sure.
right? Essentially, 4 top drawer guys. I don't understand this at all. If you're going to spend the money, if you're going to go and gamble, freaking gamble on Vlahovic. At least he's going to have a little bit of
I think they looked at other options before making that bid. That was on Monday, the bid for Watkins, by the way. Not on Wednesday.
I would be very surprised if this turns out well, if it goes through. Former Arsenal and Barcelona executive Raul Sanllehi joined Inter Miami as president of football operations in July. And now, less than 6 months later, he's gone.
Yeah, not the most popular figure there, let's be honest. Especially after a bit of an incident with Leo Messi, where Raul got on the bus, which was just for the players and the technical staff. So technically had not much to do really in there from the player's point of view. Messi was unhappy, kind of told him off. And this is very much Messi club more than Raul Sanllehi club. So if there was going to be one casualty between the two after this, it was never going to be Messi, but always going to be Raul.
I have to say, this is not a good look for the club at all. These people obviously know each other. There's obviously previous between Messi
of course,
and Sanllehi from Barcelona days and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So if you know that something like this can happen, I mean, right, he's a moron for getting on the wrong bus if that's what he did, right?
Yeah.
This is New York Post reporting it. There's been no denial of it. And then arguing to stay in the bus once Messi tells him to leave. So that's by the by. But you as a club, why are you hiring? You hire a top guy and then he leaves so quickly?
Yeah, that's not good. England and Manchester City forward Chloe Kelly is unhappy, and she released a statement, Gab, to say how unhappy she is at Manchester City.
Yeah, so I've never seen this in professional football. She said, well, the Euros are fast approaching, and she wants to be in a situation where she can do her best to represent England, because it fills her with pride and honor and yada, yada, yada. So she's upset. This is a direct quote. To be dictated whom I can and can't join with only 4 months left of the football season is having a huge impact on not only my career, but my mental well-being. This situation has dragged on for too long. It's disappointing and it's not right. I'm sorry. You're a professional footballer, right? You signed a contract. You can't just decide, oh, I want to move. Your suggestion she might join Manchester United, whatever, Manchester City, holding her to a contract. You can't just say, you can release a statement like this.
No,
You get paid. You're doing a job here. This is an affront to professional footballers, men and women everywhere. Yeah, anybody who has a job. I have a contract with ESPN, right? If tomorrow I want to go to one of our competitors and start appearing and writing for them, and ESPN says, no, hey, look, Gab, you can't go and write for The Athletic tomorrow. What are we going to release a statement saying, it's so disappointing that I can't go and do it? You have a job. Treat it as a job.
No, it's bad. But we've had players who wanted to get a move, the club didn't want to let them go, for example, and did interviews to voice their disappointment and say, like, I just want. So
Yeah, but they don't bring their mental well-being
it's
into
part
it.
of being a professional football player.
Yeah.
I think.
You know what? Why don't you cancel your contract now? Right? Go to them and say, I don't want to be a pro anymore, and just not get paid between now and the end of the season. I mean, see if they'll rescind your contract.
Yeah, I know.
I
know.
I mean, if there's
I
more, if
hope
the club are being vindictive or whatever towards her, that's another matter. But then come out and say that, right?
Yeah.
Jules, we're not done. We have more quick
Yes.
hits. Yalla. Paris Saint-Germain, we're also in danger of going out. But Ousmane Dembele and Speedy Barcola tee up an impressive win away to Stuttgart. Everything's okay now, Jules. Yeah, everything's fine. Nothing
I don't
to
know,
see
but they
here.
were very impressive, very, very good, especially in that first half. They could have scored 5, they scored 3. Then Dembele got his hat-trick on a lovely, lovely team move and lovely finish from him. 11 goals in his last 8 games. Barcola, obviously, after being so good against City in that second half last week, being very good again. And yeah, it's a team that is getting better. How much better to then be able to go find this competition? I don't know, because we know that if they get to the last 16, they will play Barcelona or Liverpool. So it's not ideal. So it might stop again at the last 16. But for now, it's a lovely team to watch. That's for sure. Very entertaining. Real Madrid beat Brest 3-0 in Guingamp, which is not enough to break into the top 8. But Gab, Florentino Perez is plotting again.
Yeah, Rodrigo scored a nice goal, but really from your story here is the president of the Spanish FA, Rafael Lozan, he says that Florentino has asked them to bring in English refs. Florentino perpetually
Why,
unhappy with the
Florentino?
refereeing because it's cost Real Madrid titles.
Have you not seen the referee we've got here?
That's what I was going to say. Like, if you're bringing in foreign refs is something which a number of leagues do, especially they want to remove all situations of bias in history. So Turkey's done it for years. Others have done it. I mean, it's a stupid thing to do. I think if you look at referees, certainly as far as FIFA and UEFA are concerned, Spanish referees regularly have guys who are among the best of the world. Now, not everybody's good. Not everybody's the same. So if you want to get foreign ones, I think that's silly to begin with. But yeah, choosing England right now, and maybe in a few years, Howard Webb sorts it out and it gets better. I think things are getting better.
Yeah.
With some notable exceptions, one of which we'll get to in a minute. But come on, really?
I know.
The PGMOL has overturned the ban for Miles Lewis-Skelly's red card for Arsenal against Wolves. Jules, sanity prevails?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the right call. We didn't know if they would do it or not, but they did. Well done to them. I think apart from Stevie Nicol, who really believed it was a red card, everybody else was pretty convinced that it wasn't and that it should be overturned, and he has been. So well done.
I want, Howard, I know you listen all the time.
Yeah.
I want to know what the conversation between Michael Oliver and the VAR Darren England was. I think this is absolutely critical. If you think
we will get when he does his show with Michael Owen, right?
What?
When Howard Webb does
Yeah,
his
maybe.
show.
He doesn't talk about every incident. Hopefully he'll address
surely,
it.
yeah.
Hopefully he does, because I want transparency. I want to know, is it a case that Darren England bottled it? Or did the because, oh no, that's Michael Oliver. I can't contradict him. I'm just a guy named after a country. Or is it that Michael Oliver said, no, Darren, shut up. I'm Michael Oliver. I saw this clearly. It's a red. And then it's on Oliver.
Yeah. Milan will have to go to the playoffs. So as they go down to 10 men and lose 2-1 away at Fabio Cannavaro's Dinamo Zagreb, Gab, Sergio Conceição is raging again.
Yeah, not enough hunger, not enough aggression, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing Fonseca thought, but now Conceição is saying them. Dude, get them to play better. That first half was terrible. Now, a lot of incidents in this game.
Musa red cards.
Sorry?
The Musa red cards.
What about it?
Well, I think he should know better to start with.
Well,
It's
did
2
you-
yellows in 8 minutes.
The first yellow,
Yeah.
Musa should be fined. It's so stupid on his
It's-
part. Yes. And then Mateo Gabbia falls over the ball.
Yeah.
And then Leao, I thought that penalty should have, I don't think Leao elbows the guy in the face at all.
No,
I think
that's true.
that penalty should have stood. But it's a bunch of incidents. You're playing Dinamo Zagreb. I know, maybe you're blinded by the Fabio Cannavaro, by the way, the only Ballon d'Or winner in the Champions League, right?
Is it? Yeah.
Can you think of another one?
Luka Modric.
Luka Modric, yes. But I'm talking about among the coaches.
Oh,
yes.
among the coaches.
But yes.
I don't know.
Um,
Yeah, probably.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it is cool.
So tremendous, impressive Dinamo Zagreb. Although as we mentioned, they miss out. Milan need to do better, and the derby does not come at a good time for them this weekend. Jules, shall we show some love for Lille?
Oh,
6-1
amazing.
winners over Feyenoord. Now that the group stage is over, we can say, in fact, you said it. They are the surprise package.
Yeah, they've been incredible. Really, when you think about their first defeat against Sporting on match day 1, and you thought, okay, that might be difficult for them, maybe a little step too high, and then they go and beat Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, and they lost away at Liverpool. That's the only second defeat that they've had. They draw with Juventus. This amazing win, really, against Feyenoord, especially in the second half, where they blew them away, despite not starting Jonathan David.
Yeah, can I say something? That was mean. You're destroying them, and then you bring on Jonathan David.
Well, yeah, that's how good they've been. And Bruno Genesio, or Pep Genesio, as we called him. Really outstanding work. They deserve it, and it's great for them. Really great for them. Benfica keep their nerve and qualify for the playoffs with a 2-0 win over Juventus. Thiago Motta says it's his fault. Do you agree?
Yeah, of course it's his fault. And it's nice taking responsibility. And it's not so much just playing players in weird position. Tim Weah, right back when he's been actually playing center forward a lot for this club. Weston McKennie's adapted at left back. Injuries, necessity, fine. But it's also you bring back Dusan Vlahovic for this game. And obviously Vlahovic, different from Colomwani, it's going to affect the whole team. He made a gutsy decisions, dropping Cope Miners, who's not been performing well. Fine. But then you need the follow-through. He signs Douglas Luiz for this money, doesn't like Douglas Luiz, then he likes Douglas Luiz again. I didn't think things got totally screwy in this game, of course, as well, when Kalulu has to come off injured.
Yeah.
Rather than do the rational thing and bring on Savona at right back, maybe you move. I don't even know how you would do that. Instead, you get to somebody out of position, has to bring Manuel Locatelli to play center back alongside Gatti, who was atrocious. So not good, but a lot of credit to Benfica, though.
Yeah, especially after that Barcelona defeat.
After that trauma, they come back and they get a huge victory, which pushes them forward. And by the way, maybe they might want to consider your man Pavlidis, that team in Manchester needs to step forward. Maybe he's the best target man in Lisbon right now. It's time. It's Texter time. Jules, 5 games without a win have cost Pierre Sage, or Stone Wise, as we like to call him, his job. And they're 6th in Ligue 1. He took them all the way from the bottom to the top. But no, here comes the very handsome Paulo Fonseca. We foreshadowed this, Jules, when we told you about how we rang up Fonseca to offer him the Botafogo job. And then he's like, oh, look, do you want to take the Lyon job as well? Reality is stranger than fiction.
And as John Texter said a few weeks ago, he was crazy enough to sack Pierre Sage. Stonewise, we feel for Stonewise. He took this team when they were bottom of the table 14 months ago, took them into a cup final, into the Europa League, into 6th in the table, in really close distance to the top 4 and Champions League for next season. So hard to understand why he got sacked. Good luck to Paulo Fonseca, because it's not so much that Paulo Fonseca is not a good coach. He's probably a better coach than Pierre Sage and with more experience. It's just that he will have to work with John Texter.
And possibly no transfers on the
exactly. Yeah, maybe even in Ligue 2. Inter stomp all over Monaco 3-0 to go into the top 8, and Lautaro Martinez bags a hat-trick. Gab is hitting form at the right time.
Yeah, I think he scored in the last 6 games, 8 of the last 9, something like that. One of the goals was phenomenal. One of them was a tap-in. One was a penalty. It's the whole thing. Helped by the fact that Monaco had a guy sent off. Inter are looking stronger heading into the derby. This is really, really big.
Yeah.
They're going to make up their game against Fiorentina on February 6th now, because obviously they're not in the playoffs. So we're going to have a normal table on this head-to-head between them and Napoli. That promises to be exciting. Xavi Simmons, who's Leipzig, of course, somehow lost again at the stadium formerly known as the Arnold Schwarzenegger Stadium to Sturm Graz. They lost 1-0, but Xavi Simmons is officially a Leipzig player.
Yeah, he was on loan from PSG. Now it's a permanent move. 50 million euros plus 30 in bonuses, so could go up to 80 million. Which
That's good money.
It's great money for PSG. We got him obviously on a free, as you remember, before he went to PSV, and they bought him back. Great, PSG needed that. Also, that means they can send Skriniar to Fenerbahce and get more money for their accounting. And Dortmund has a new manager as well. Gabi, after sacking Nuri Sahin, it's Niko Kovac who's on the bench, and they beat Shakhtar last night as well.
That's right. A win that turned out to be pretty irrelevant, frankly, in the grander scheme of things, other than seeding, obviously. I'm not a Kovac guy. Obviously, I go back to the halcyon days of Eintracht Frankfurt. I hope he doesn't bring Luka Jovic back or such nonsense. He's got a lot of work to do. Does not seem like a calming influence at a club. And let's see if they can get out of their Keystone Cop situation. Mason Greenwood is the top goal scorer in Ligue 1, the Pichichi of Ligue 1, from a wide position as well. Yeah. But for obvious reasons, he has no international future with England. Jules, he's eligible for Jamaica too. Would switching allegiances make sense?
I think that's what he's going to do. He might have already made his decision and made it official. Steve McLaren is the Jamaica head coach, obviously, somebody who knows him well, who he knows very well too. And I think if you're Steve McLaren and you've got a talent like Mason Greenwood at your disposal, unless you've got similar reservations, obviously, than people in England, then Gareth Southgate at the time, and now Thomas Tuchel, then I guess you call him up for Jamaica. So we'll have to see. But it was always very likely that he would do that anyway.
It'd be interesting for me to see what the reaction is like in Jamaica. Obviously, when it happens in your doorstep, a situation like this, and the way it gets resolved, it makes a big difference. It's in the media, whatever. Some years have passed. Will people in Jamaica say, nah, you're not coming here unless we have an actual closure to this?
Yeah. Gab, we were so excited when Raja Nainggolan came out of retirement and scored straight from a corner, like a corner kick, direct corner for Le Coren last weekend. Now he's been arrested as part of an international cocaine smuggling ring. Wow.
Wow is right. The Ninja, I mean, he comes back, scores an Olympico.
Yeah, Olympico.
How about that?
Yeah, amazing goal. In the second division, Le Coren there.
Still, you're kicking the ball just as far.
True. No, but for people who wonder what Le Coren are, they are second division.
I appreciate that. I don't know what to say. I would caution against this. Obviously, he's not the first. I'm blanking on his name again.
Quincy Promise?
Yes, Quincy Promise. Michele Padovano actually spent time in prison and had a thing hanging over him for 20 years before being fully cleared over this was a marijuana smuggling ring. I don't know what the situation is. Let's wait for him to be judged. We've seen a lot of times. On the surface, I would say this is not something he needs to get involved in. In the past, when this has happened, it's often been childhood friends who maybe they loan money to, and then that money gets used for something. And how much do they know? When do they know it? But look, I love the Ninja. I hope he's fully cleared. I hope he gives us some more moments of magic and excitement on the pitch. More cocaine, Jules. Not something I expected to be mentioning. David Coote, who of course is the referee who was sacked after a video emerged of him insulting Jurgen Klopp and Andy Robertson too, and as well as sniffing white powder. He has apologized, saying he struggled to deal with the pressure of the job and the fact that he kept his homosexuality hidden from everyone but friends and family. This is a sad story.
It is a sad story. I mean, he still didn't have to insult Jurgen Klopp while being filmed by some people that I guess he trusted, and then the video leaked. You can still feel under pressure and struggling with your own sexuality, and you don't have to insult people who you work with. Right? This is not. Then it's a sad story. Of course it is. And I like the fact that he apologized. Of course, it's good. And I hope that he's happier now and will be happier in the next few months and years of his career. Maybe outside, like far from football and far from the pressure that he was under for becoming a Premier League, for being a Premier League referee. But it still doesn't excuse the fact that he should not have insulted Jurgen Klopp.
Again, I feel like like I said, it doesn't change anything. He cannot be a referee. He shouldn't be a referee. Yeah. He has to apologize. Also, another issue was some spot betting as well on one of the games. He's being looked at for that as well. I don't like what I don't like in this. When I read about it, when I saw the headlines about the fact that he's gay, and I assumed he was fully closeted, and so he struggled with it. He's coming. The man's 42 years old. He came out to his family, he says, when he was 21, and he came out to his friends when he was 25. For me, this puts it. If this was going to be a mitigating factor in his use of cocaine and allowing himself to be filmed and blackmailed like this, it's less of a mitigating factor if you have been out to your friends and family for more than 17 years.
Yeah.
Now, obviously not out in a football context, but again, that's a different story than, say, a footballer. Referees, it's one man. You go in, you go out. I don't know. I hope he's fine. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. It's an ugly story. I'm glad it's over.
Danilo has left Juventus to go back to Brazil and join Flamengo, Gab. He was the club captain and got a rousing goodbye too.
He did. The Juve fans really took to him. I had my own journey with Danilo.
I used to love him. I used to think he was an amazing right back.
Really? I thought he was terrible.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't like him at City. I didn't like him at Real Madrid. I like the fact that over time, he reinvented himself and really became a leader, really much loved. He's a victim of cutbacks, of a big contract, of the fact that Juve weren't going to extend it.
Yeah.
To the point, I don't think Thiago Motta needed to freeze him out the way he did. But I'm happy. He's still got football to give. Still got stuff to do with Brazil as well.
Yeah.
He's 33 years old, but he's in the squad for the national side, and he turned out to be a tremendous leader.
It's great that all those Brazilian players are going back home as well. I love that.
Matisse Tell in the news again, not getting playing time at Bayern, and his agents are on the phone. He's been linked with Chelsea. He's been linked with Spurs. He's been linked with a lot of clubs.
Yeah, with Arsenal as well, and in France with Marseille, we're looking at it too. I think Spurs right now are the team that pushing the most.
Because they need more wingers.
So in the Premier League, he can play as a 9 or second striker. I think second striker is his best position. Having seen him since he was like 15, I think second striker is probably his best position. I would think, but he just, I think, was not happy in the end at Bayern. For a long time, he said to them, "I don't want to leave. I want to stay here and succeed." And now I think with a bit more time, he thought, you know what, it's probably better if I go and play more somewhere else.
You can say something. So second striker, not exactly a growth industry in football, given that there's only a handful of teams that play two up front. And he's not joining Inter, and he's not joining Atletico Madrid, and I'm sure there's others, but it's not the ideal. So he's still young. Maybe that's why he has to adapt to the wing. Aston Villa have been linked with him as well. Obviously, inevitably. I don't see what the thinking is here, though. Does he see him? I mean, can he play as a lone striker?
Yeah, definitely.
But if he
I
think
second striker is his best position.
Second striker.
I think that doesn't mean he has to play second striker. I'm just saying I think he's got great qualities to be a great second striker. But he can play on his own up front for sure. He can play wide. Right. There's no problem. But he's so good that you would want to keep him centrally instead of having to play him wide because he's so lethal in front of goals.
So 4 years at Bayern, and he hasn't been able to secure the job as
4 years,
Harry Kane's,
no,
3 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's still very young, but I just find it interesting that Bayern stands towards him. If I were Bayern, I would say, look, Harry Kane is older.
Yeah. I
do not have a backup to Harry Kane right now. I've had to play Muller there. I've had to play Musiala there one game.
Yeah.
If I believe in you, sit tight. Let's work on a new deal.
Is
it telling that they don't seem to be saying that?
I don't know. It depends.
Why is he getting so antsy?
But why if Harry Kane has another 2 years at this level? What you're going to wait 2 more years if you're Matisse Tell?
Okay, really? So you're going to go to Spurs where they have Dominic Solanke and play 4-3-3?
Yeah, no, but he can, like I said, he can play wide. He can play in 4-3-3 formation. There's no doubt he can play in a lot of formations. I'm just saying that he just wants to play more. I think regardless of what position he plays, he wants to play more, not just 15 minutes there, nothing there, 10 there.
No, I take your point. It's interesting, though. I mean, I don't think there's any question. I'm not dissing the guy. But Bayern have signed on an expiring contract.
Yeah.
They have Gnabry, who's always hurt and bad when he's fit. I would think if you're a bright young winger that the club believe in, you'd look at this and be like, okay, my core of of wingers, second strike, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Between Olise and Musiala, I would think Tell would be a part of that.
Yeah.
That's why I wonder how much do the club really believe in him to the point that they're willing to make that commitment and give him those minutes on the pitch.
Yeah, that's true. US striker Ricardo Pepi and PSV Eindhoven striker Ricardo Pepi is linked with a move to West Ham.
Yeah, they're having 25 million move. Now, Pepe, of course, he's had good times, he's had rough times.
Yeah.
I still think he might be the record transfer from an MLS club when he moved to Augsburg for, was it 20 odd million? West Ham desperately needs strikers. It looks like they're throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, frankly.
Yeah, because they've tried every number 9 available pretty much.
Well, and obviously you lost Bowen, you lost Antonio.
Yeah.
Fulkrug
is injured as well.
But Pepe and Fulkrug, they look like different species, not let alone. I mean, they're very different profiles.
Yeah.
Would you want to leave? Find out where you're getting a lot of time and moving on to.
So PSV,
PSV, sorry.
Yeah. I don't know.
And where you got Peter Bosch, so you mean you're going to see a lot of the ball.
Yeah. You're right. But on the other hand, Fulkrug is over 30. So is Antonio. Whenever Antonio comes back, anyway. And
West Ham are a stable club where you can.
No, but I think it's more like if you think of Luc de Jong at some point will also leave PSV. So I don't know what's best. I guess a move to the Premier League if you're Ricardo Pepi now instead of playing in the Eredivisie probably is appealing, is attractive, which I understand that completely. And especially if Potter says this and you're going to be my starter certainly between now and the end of the season and show us what you can do. It's more, would you pay 25 million for him? Right now,
it's a lot. I would put that money, chuck in a little more, and get a different CONCACAF striker from the Eredivisie, and I would get Santiago Jimenez.
Yeah, probably me too.
Jules, the screws are turning on my boy Jorge Sampaoli at Rennes. Could he really be sacked after just 10 games?
Yeah, that's right, Gabby. 7 defeats in 10, though. To be fair,
3 wins in 10 as well.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Which is not many.
That's almost a point a game.
3 wins in 10. It's just not. I think it's not working out. And
is he acting mad again?
No, not even that. But it's just like last night. I felt like the club has decided it's just not a right fit. Which can happen. You think that this guy could be good for your club, although we said as soon as they hired him, we said, hang on, Rennes, like quiet family club, the Pinot family, one of the richest in the world, but they don't like controversy. They don't like that kind of stuff. And then you hire the most maybe controversial. Boisterous, energetic. It didn't look like it was going to match, and he hasn't matched. So I think probably cut your losses now. Is that what you say in English? Now, instead of waiting, because I don't think anything will improve, even with investing some money. What's weird though is that Rennes signed a Kyogo from Celtic, who is 30 years old, because Sampaoli really, really wanted him, and Sampaoli went at war with. Massara, who's the sporting director at Rennes, and he won, so they signed Kyogo, and now for 2 days later, getting rid of Sampaoli, who got the players that you spend money on that you just wanted. It's weird. It's really weird.
Okay, so he didn't. Did you say it's the Pinot family?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like he made a pass at Salma Hayek or anything like, because Sampaoli's reputation is a bit of a ladies' man.
So, like what? Sorry, I didn't get that.
It's not like he made a pass at Salma Hayek, I said.
Oh, I don't know. Okay. I don't know that. No, I don't know that.
Because she is part of the Pinot family.
Yeah, she's married obviously to Pinot's son. But no, I don't know about this. Palmeiras and Bragantino drew 0-0 in the Paulista Championship. But Gab, the story is Abel Ferreira's having a swipe at Jurgen Klopp. So Bragantino in the stand.
Yeah, Bragantino are part of the Red Bull group.
Yeah.
And so Jurgen Klopp on his world tour as global head of football at Red Bull or whatever he is, he goes to the game. This is funny. He didn't just give Klopp crap, or he didn't give Klopp crap because of Red Bull and what it means for somebody like Klopp to be joining an organization like Red Bull with all the negativity associated with it. No, he just seemed to resent Klopp being there. He says, this is a quote, "Today there was a gentleman here called Klopp who won fewer titles in 8 years at Liverpool than my coaching staff here at Palmeiras. So don't come and talk to me about being hungry for titles."
Did Klopp say something before that?
I don't think poor Klopp said anything on this occasion. And Klopp also won a Champions League, so maybe, simmer down a little bit there, Abed Ferreira. It just seemed totally gratuitous. But
Yeah, absolutely.
you know what, Jurgen? I'm sorry. It's the bad vibe negativity of Red Bull. You know, you sign up for them, you sell your soul to the Red Bull.
Yeah, that's
God
what
gonna
happens.
punish you. You're gonna make enemies everywhere you go. And I know that deep down, you're a good person. Have a rethink, Jurgen. It's okay. Ciara Walsh is leaving Barcelona, reportedly joining Chelsea.
Wow, one incredible move. A few days after signing the best defender in the world in Naomi Girma, now they're signing the best midfielder in the world in Ciara Walsh. And Chelsea, as we said before, already the best squad in the world with the
Running
Barcelona,
away with the Women's Super League.
with the Barcelona squads, running away with the Super League, and really amongst the favorite with Barcelona again to win their first Champions League. I don't know. It's amazing. The Girma deal, we said it's around $1 million. This one is just below 600,000 or something like that, which is a lot for women's football. Great, well done. Another huge player for Sonia Bonpastor. I mean, they're going to be unbeatable. They're going to be invincible. I guess apart from Barcelona, nobody really can compete with them. And if they add on top of it some top players like that, it's pretty much incredible what they're building. So well done.
No PSR in the women's game. And since they spun it off from, or since Chelsea are trying to spin it off from their men's team,
Yeah.
I wonder if this is part of the plan.
Yeah, maybe. And in the meantime, we've heard the news this morning, Gab, that on Thursday morning, that Steven Gerrard was no longer the Al Ittifaq manager in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so he leaves there an even richer man. I don't know.
That's for sure. After
what-
18 months of
Of obscurity, really, right? Because
nice paycheck.
nice paycheck, happy for him. Come back, figure out what your next moves are. Young Boys lost to Red Star Belgrade, and Slovan Bratislava fell to Bayern, which means both end the group stage on 0 points.
Oh.
Great goal, by the way, from the Red Star Belgrade guy, the dude who come on.
Conga, amazing strike, like a Michaelesian-esque.
Jules, who will you remember more fondly? Young Boys or Slovan?
I mean, surely Young Boys, simply for the plastic pitch, because...
And not the Vankdorf?
the name and the name of the stadium, obviously, but... I don't know. I just never thought a plastic pitch should be allowed in the Champions League. I'm sorry. They said no to Brest to play in their own stadium because apparently it was not big enough or not exactly like UEFA wanted. And then you allow a plastic pitch in the best competition in the world. Like, that should not happen. So just for that, I remember Young Boys for allowing to be there in their own stadium, but should not having been allowed to be there, basically, if that makes sense. Gab, let's go into the Neymar sphere now. He's joining Santos on loan for the next 6 months. And his old boss, Jorge Jesus, Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, had some pretty mean things to say about him as well.
Yeah, and by the way, Jorge Jesus is an odd cat, obviously, but he's not some random Portuguese dude. He actually worked in Brazil and was successful in Brazil.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, as a quote, Neymar cannot play at the high tempo and the level that we are playing at right now in Saudi. Things have become difficult for him. And so, sure, go and play in Brazil, where they literally wrote the history of football. I thought this is a totally gratuitous troll. But look, if Neymar Neymar's going to Santos, and he can go and he can prove them wrong. I love this kind of back and forth. We've had Ligue 1 involved, we've had the Brasileirão involved. Now this,
I mean, this has to be one of the worst transfers ever, right? Neymar to Al Hilal for 90 million euros, being paid $100 million a year. To play 7 matches, score 1 goal.
I also want to say...
It has to be in 18 months.
I want them to say, George, how do you know he's been injured the whole time? You haven't seen him play.
Yeah,
how do you know he can't handle the high tempo and level of the Saudi Pro League? Come on, man. Now, according to reports in Brazil, Neymar already has a shopping list of players he'd like to add to Santos. Jules, your thoughts on these guys? It's a grab bag. I just wrote them. It's like a Neymar and friends.
Yes, of course, yeah. Paul Pogba is one of them. I mean, I would love to see Paul Pogba in Brazil simply because of being in the country of football. I don't think this one will happen. Sergio Ramos,
It's linked to Mexico.
Yeah, I think he's linked to Mexico much more than to Santos. Thiago Silva is already at Fluminense, but I guess you can move to Santos. Marcelo, who we said has had his contract terminated, and I guess he's looking for a club right now, but why not?
Ganso?
Yeah, on the Allianz Central. Ganso, I mean, I know they started together at Santos like 20 years ago or something, less 17 years ago, but still, Leandro Paredes, at Roma. I think the only one that will happen is probably Arthur Melo. For now, Arthur Melo going to Santos. I mean, I'm not even sure what Arthur Melo has done in the last 2 years or so. But
if you're Neymar, you've made so much money. I don't know if you can actually buy Santos because I think it's an association, it's a club with members. Why don't you strike some deal where you're like, let me go and invest and put some of your own money in to bring your friends over. Do something different. Honestly, what are you going to do at this stage, right?
Gab, clubs in Norway voted to abolish VAR. Remember, we mentioned it on the last show, the one before. But tell us why it's not happening. It's not happening, or it hasn't happened yet, for sure.
Apparently, it's not going to happen because. And by the way, I don't want to be unkind here, but I think I will be unkind because we get so much virtue signaling from the VAR purists and from Norway and Lise Klaveness and standing up to FIFA, whatever. So, quote from Lise Klaveness, who is the head of the NFF, the federation there, says, despite strong arguments for abolishing VAR and opposition from professional clubs, the NFF has unanimously decided that it is best for Norwegian football to retain and further develop VAR. Now, I happen to agree that it's best to retain and develop VAR. However, if the clubs do not want it, and it is, by the way, the opposite professional clubs, you're not using this for amateur clubs. You're using it for professional clubs, presumably, right?
Yeah.
If they don't want it, if they have actually taken a vote and they don't want it, how can you unanimously decide, no, you guys don't get your way? No, especially when you're busy lecturing the world about democracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what's behind this. Again, my thoughts on VAR, but I hope somebody can explain this.